running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Quasar Markets Live. Howard here, running solo until we get Steve Flanagan in a little later to talk FX and the macro picture. All right, man, get ready. It is going to be a little bit of a crazy day today. Today is quarterly moment where options, futures, and expirations collide, otherwise known as quad witching day. And markets can move for reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with the news. So if you're newer, don't panic. If you're experienced, don't get too cocky. Today is a flow day. We're going to talk a little bit about witching, expirations, and rebalances. Take a look at Nike's guidance and what that means towards the Dow today. Take a look at Oracle and TikTok U.S. structure, the cannabis rescheduling to Schedule 3. What does that mean for the market? What the Bank of Japan did overnight, what that's going to do to yen and global yields. And we got to talk about, of course, it wouldn't be a day without the president and oil, Venezuela, and the headline risk there. So, today is, like I said, quad witching day. It is definitely a day to keep your eyes on a swivel. We will see a lot of stuff happening today. We have a little bit of earnings. We got some policy and macro to talk about, but quite honestly, the majority of things are going to be the futures, what's going on. Right now, we see us slightly up on the Qs, down a little bit on the S&P and the Dow. So what we are seeing is a little bit of a difference. It matters on earnings. It matters on whether or not news hit the cycle, so to speak. So we'll see what we get today. If we're watching for volatility, VIX futures are kind of soft going into the day, considering it is quad witching day at 1632. We could see a little spike on this here today, so keep your eye on that. If we go, we could see that happen for sure. So keep that in mind. It's one of those days where the market looks at your carefully built thesis and nods politely, but then also does the opposite, because it is definitely all going to be about the expiries, in my opinion. So for some of you asking, what is witching day? Let's do a little bit witching day 101. Triple or quadruple witching is when multiple derivatives expire at the same time. Think options on indexes, options on single stocks, futures on index, and the options on those futures. All of those hit today. If you're new, these contracts are basically bets and insurance policies. And when they expire, traders have to either close them, roll them, or settle them. So why does that matter? When large positions expire, big players often have to trade the underlying stock and indexes to adjust hedges. It creates mechanical buying and selling. An important point is that flow can move price even when nothing fundamental changes. So, keep that in mind. If you're an expert out there, what you want to do is make sure that you're looking at the size and what to watch. The headline number floating around this morning is roughly 7.1 trillion in equity-linked option exposure expiring. That is a record with a huge chunk tied to the index options. So your S&P, your QQQ, your NASDAQ, your others, your IMW, and such. And here's the part that trips people up a little bit. These days have a reputation for volatility. But strategists have also found that sometimes witching can actually be volatility dampening versus the typical expiration day. So it can be a little bit of a two-way street there. And why is that the case is what you'll see is wherever that sort of max pain point is, or where the amount of numbers um, on both the up and down side are, they tend to be magnets that draw the price, but also constrain the price because there's reasons to start buying the dip or selling the rip in between that based upon what your expiry is. So it naturally actually provides sometimes more of a collar effect than a volatility effect. And part of that is going to be, or what we watch for though, is there any gamma effects today? Do we see positioning? Do we see dealer hedging? And then also we will see index rebalances that can stack on top of that, creating force flow at the close. And again, what does that mean? Based upon the price, depending on what your hedge fund does or your ETF does, they sometimes have to buy in. They're forced buyers and sellers based upon what has happened over the quarter. They can only own X amount of their position in one stock. So let's say, Tesla jumps up to 505 all-time high. That might force people to sell Tesla, or the hedge funds to sell it because they're rebalancing and maybe they have to buy Oracle. So it can do that. So rule number one, don't confuse flow with trend. Today, rule number two, the close can matter more than the open. Watch what happens towards the end of the day. It's one of those days where volatility might actually be muted on the open and pick up later in the day. And day three of your day trading, treat this like driving in a snowstorm. Slow down, increase distance, and don't slam on those brakes. Today is one of the days when the market can move 1 to 2% because someone's spreadsheet is telling them that's the case. So we'll keep that in mind today. As we look here, Qs are picking up a little bit of steam, now up about 36 basis points. S&P down around 11 basis points so far. Advanced decline nicely has been picking up. So breadth in the market is picking up this morning. When I did my earlier report for Prosper, it was around 900. So we've almost doubled the amount of companies in the green so far. That is good to see. Also, looking a little bit down the tape at metals, gold has been pegged right around this 43.25 area for about, going back to Wednesday or so. So this has been one of the least volatile times on gold that we've seen over the last year, quite frankly. Silver 65.77 also seems to have stalled out since about Wednesday. No real movement one way nor the other. So we're not seeing, like we said, we're not seeing a lot of explosion there. You see a nice little move up by copper here. We look at it through CPER. That is up a bit today, up about 1.5%. Bitcoin, nice bounce off of that 85,000 level overnight, back at 88. I'm looking for a run here, seeing if we can get back up towards this 89.90 area. But honestly, for me, that would be where I would be looking to fade it as opposed to follow it. Would need a full breakout above 91 and a hold for me to change my view. Otherwise, top of range right now in that 90 area. Bottom seems to be 85. Play the edges towards the return to the mean reversion. Ethereum, a little bit of a nicer recovery, quite honestly, really got hit over the last couple of days, had dropped down below 2,800, recovered almost to the full 3,000. Need to get above 30.24 here and hold to start to show some recovery there. But we are seeing a little bit more stabilization, a little bit less capitulation. But we are seeing, again, I would be a seller of rips and then only a buyer of dips. Don't play the continuation game. Right now, they are breakouts and not necessarily fake outs. Or, excuse me, they're fake outs, not breakouts. Mag 7 or the mega caps looking pretty strong here today, led by Nvidia since Micron's earnings. Um, it has buoyed the entire sector. Micron up big yesterday, 10.21%, up another 1.26 again today. So seeing some strength there. That has the other chips moving to the upside. Nvidia there. We also do see the markets buoying a little bit based on the TikTok Oracle news. This is more of a plumbing and compliance trade. Oracle right now trading, I think it's about 180. Let's take a look here. 187. So still moving to the upside here. So it's popping on the TikTok US structure headline. TikTok signing an agreement to form a US based venture with investors, including Oracle. The framing here is US data protection, security compliance, and governance. And keep in mind, this isn't just a social media story. This is a where does the data live? Who controls it? Who audits it story? So as Oracle benefits because it's positioned as a trusted enterprise provider. And it's also a little bit of a policy premium theme. The market is rewarding companies that become critical infrastructure for regulated outcomes. So nice move up here by Oracle, up again about 3.82%. Seen a little bit of selling here over the last 15 minutes, actually over the last few hours since last night around 7 o'clock. So got a pump on the news, and we are seeing that news being sold off a little bit here. So it'll be an interesting thing to watch. We need to see a break back above 191 to truly believe it has legs to the upside. Downside, you start getting nervous on anything that falls towards that 178.50 area if you get back down in there. So Oracle could be a fun one to watch today for sure. Other movers are ones in the news today. FedEx is down about 3.36% here, trading at 276. You can see since its earnings report, it has continued to move to the downside, not really finding any support yet. They raised their fiscal year 2026 revenue growth outlook and tightened up the earnings outlook range while continuing the multi-year network transformation, but it doesn't have the market happy right now. Like I said, top line beat 23.5 billion in revenue, beats estimates by about 3%, and then their earnings per share came in at $4.82, a nice 18% beat. So they are making the right moves, but it just doesn't seem like the market likes it. This one might be one where the goalposts maybe were a little bit higher than expected. It is still a turnaround operation story, efficiency, integration, and cost discipline. And, FedEx is one of those stocks where the market sometimes trades it like a macro indicator. Steve talks about it often. Industrial activity is improving. FedEx often catches a bid when that happens. I am interested here maybe on the pullback today. It seems a little bit, if it breaks down more than 5%, I think that starts to be an area to look at here. 273 key area to the downside support. And any break of that, you're really looking for more of a drop down to the 265 area. So I'll be watching today, but FedEx one interests me. I do think it's a good defensive play in general. Got to hit on the cannabis headline. It's big, it's emotional, it's easy to misunderstand because it is rather nuanced. The White House posted an action summary consistent with moving marijuana research and rescheduling efforts forward. The thrust is directing agencies to push rescheduling to Schedule 3. Key points: Schedule 3 is a major change in federal posture, but it's not the same thing as federal recreational legalization. But it will allow them to, get access to banking and other things there. What do the schedules mean? Schedule 1 is no accepted medical use and highest restriction. That's what it's currently under. Schedule 3 is accepted medical use with lower abuse potential. So moving to Schedule 3 is the federal government saying this has medicinal legitimacy and research barriers should come down. Why will the cannabis stocks whip around today? Because if this does happen, we would see banking reform, like we said, broader commercialization, and clear federal legalization pathways. That didn't happen. So that's why we saw the drop yesterday so quickly. Instead, we got a meaningful step, but not a full unlock. I think it was Barron said, stock move as a classic, sell the news first, then stabilization rebound as people reprice the policy risk premium. So Schedule 3 can impact things like research, institutional comfort, and potentially certain tax and accounting mechanics over time. But the biggest gates still require additional regulatory and legislative steps. So still not out of the woods yet, but they are moving it in that direction, and it does seem to have it moving a little bit better there. We are about 10 minutes from the open here. We're going to take a quick 30-second commercial break. Missed out on Bitcoin's meteoric rise past $100,000. There's still time to trade cryptocurrency. My name is Howard Greenberg. I was an early buyer of Bitcoin around $431 in an early blockchain offering. And I believe we're entering a crypto 2.0 wave where cryptocurrency will continue to be more involved in all of our lives. With that wave will come new opportunities to trade fast-moving altcoins, and I do that inside my cryptocurrency trading room every single day. You can get my watch list and alerts to trade right alongside me. And many of these opportunities I trade can be as little as $50 to $100 per coin. If you want to learn more, click the link below and talk with one of our cryptocurrency trading counselors. See if this trading room is for you and your lifestyle. Book a call now to see. Okay, we are back. Let's take a look at what we have going into the open here. Tick pretty muted. Advanced decline stalled out at about that 1900 level, 1850, I guess it is actually here. Indices, if we take a look at the different sectors of the S&P, see a mixed bag. We see XLB, which is the material sector, down slightly. XLP, consumer staples, down slightly, and consumer discretionary pretty flat on the day. Healthcare down a little bit. We do have some UNH news we'll hit on there. On the upside, technology is leading the way, up about 59 basis points here. Are some names to keep an eye on today. I'm watching Tesla for a move to the upside here. If we can break 490 here, watching for a run towards 505 or so. So Tesla definitely on watch today. Microsoft, another one I'm keeping an eye on. Looked like it wanted to break out yesterday. Already breaking right now to highs of the pre-market. Any kind of move above that 490 level really opens 495 to 500 up right to that 50-day simple moving average. So we do have some momentum plays to play there. If we look at the early morning gainers, as I said, PDD, the parent company of TikTok, seeing a pretty solid day, up about 6.22% on the news of that deal. Did get as high as 115 overnight before pulling back down right now about 112. This is a stock that was trading 139, 140. So if this agreement is moving on and things are doing, this could be a good one to watch today. And again, here, it's got good movement back up to that 115. And if you break 115, you've got a pretty clear shot here for 116.82. That's what I'd be looking at. So looking pretty good there. Data AI centers getting a little bit of love on the news of approval in Michigan of a new data center. There was problems yesterday with data centers there where Blue Owl and Oracle, sort of parting ways or deciding not to move forward with their agreement, but already others stepping in. So we see CoreWeave up about 5% on that news at 8. Up about 4.74, but I will point out you want to talk about volatility and heavily shorted stocks moving into quad witching day. these are ones to keep an eye on because they could squeeze to the upside. So definitely do think that is the case. Also seeing uh, the low orbit and space companies have a nice little pop today. SATS up 5%. Which has had a pretty good run to the upside, back up above $20, 2073. So we see that sector getting some love here. Also, crypto centric names also moving to the upside today. MSTR up about 3.58%, Coinbase up 2.55. So we do see the crypto names also getting some love. Not a lot of laggards. Main laggard, as I talked about a little bit already, is Nike, down about 10% here this morning after their sales disappointed, and especially sales in China very much disappointed there. So that one has folks, definitely on edge. Lift down about 3.37%. This one gets interesting to me. It's had pretty good support level here at this $19 range, right at the bottom of the linear regression standard deviation. Could make a nice little move to the upside here. So Lyft is one that I think you could keep an eye on for a bounce back today. Another one getting hit pretty hard that's had a strong move up since their earnings has been Decker Outdoors, down about 2% today. Didn't really see any news there. So not sure what has that moving to the downside. Elevance Health down about 1.39% here this morning. Morgan Stanley did reduce their price target there to about 352, I believe it was. We talked about FedEx down about 4% here today. Breaks down below 5%, starts to get interesting to me there. We'll see what we get here. We're about 5 minutes from the open. Other ones, Starbucks was down about 59 basis points, but I will say, if you look at the pre-market, there is a lot more moving to the upside than the downside so far. Just trying to think if anything jumped in. Life 360, it looks like it's jumped into the pre-market movers. And I didn't mention, oh yeah, DJT, Donald Trump's media, after their news of the merging with TAE for fusion energy, up another 4% today. So that one is seeing some movement there. Would not surprise me. Another company that has been heavily shorted, that you could see some short covering here based upon expiration. So same thing, MSTR, we know heavily shorted. So these you do have a few that I would definitely be keeping an eye on. And if you see start moving, I think could give you some good opportunity here, because like I said, a lot of these were definitely heavily shorted over the last month or two. If we look at what's moving to the downside, LW, not even sure who that is. Lamb and Weston, my favorite French fry maker, just had earnings. Did have a top line revenue beat and a EPS beat, but they are down significantly here, almost 13.5%. Steve has mentioned he wasn't a big fan of the company as people eat less and less French fries. You can see here getting down fairly well, not all the way towards the 52-week lows, but getting down there 47 or so is that. I will tell you, when it comes to restaurants, they do dominate the sales of French fries. Let's see if there's any other. Everything's saying beat, so I'm not sure why the big drop there. Margin decline. So it's saying that they saw a 1% net sale growth, 8% volume increase, but adjusted EBITDA declined $9 million due to price and mix pressures. North American drove profit gains. That's not surprising. Again, as I said, they do definitely service very much the big restaurants, the McDonald's, maybe not McDonald's. I don't want to say that because I don't know who McDonald's uses. But big chains like Darden, Chili's, those use Lamb and Weston fries. And we know that they have all been putting pressure on their suppliers to cut price as they cut price, right? So not surprising to hear that. We are about 2 minutes from the open. I'm going to take a 30-second commercial break here as we get ready for the open.
You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Are you an online educator struggling to find your audience? Quasar Markets connects you with learners looking for you. Keep 100% ownership of your courses. No hidden fees. Already have monetized content? Get paid again and again. Apply today. Take control of your educational empire. Quasar Markets, where educators build their legacy.
Welcome back. We are 1 minute from the open. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, folks. Got to answer a quick question. Sorry, everybody. We are open here. Let's see what we get. I'm just communicating here, looking. Okay, sorry, just wanted to get that out there with them. Let's see what we got on the open here. Tick is negative to start off with. Dow does open up slightly up about 5 basis points here. S&P up 11 basis points. Nice little move to the upside to open that up. And the NASDAQ also moving to the upside on the open. Like to see that here. Take a look at the things I'm playing today. See how we're doing here. Mag 7, we see Microsoft slight move to the upside here. Tesla a little bit of a profit taken here. That's the one I'm keeping an eye on the most here. Let's see if Tesla can make a move for me here. Have that ready to go. Okay. There it goes. Tesla to the upside a little bit. I am in Tesla 505s today, calls. So up a little bit here on those. Looking at Microsoft also in a 495 call there. Gave that a little bit of time. That's out to January 2nd. Also in a little bit of a service now position. So I've got a few things playing there. On the straight stock plays, I'm still in fly here at 2108. Going to keep an eye on that. Might be getting out of that position. I had wanted this to be a longer term position, but it's had such a nice little move up here since the lows at 16. I will be maybe looking here on a run of any hesitation before 24. Take a little profit here. So anybody that got into fly with me, that's what I am looking at today. Also keeping an eye on Broadcom here. Bought that on the show the other day. It's been moving up nicely, so definitely interested here. Nice move to the upside, 337. Again, I've targeted there more. I'm looking for this 346 area. 346 for the area there. Bitcoin, disappointingly, I was hoping Bitcoin would take a little bit of a pump up. Like I said, was trying to short it from that 89 and change area. Looks like it's trading sideways now. Not going to give me a true direction yet. Our tick is fairly muted. Advanced decline again, 1900. So it's pretty good to the upside, but nothing too crazy one way or the other. We do see the Dow Jones now, or excuse me, the DXY moving up a little bit. We'll have Mr. Flanagan on here in a few minutes to go over everything happening there. Dow Jones up about 5 basis points here so far, making a little move to the upside. S&P is the one that seems to be breaking to the upside, up about 20 basis points. And we know the Qs made a nice jump up to 613 here. I got to clean up my mess on that page. There we go. So that's a nice move, be above yesterday's high. So I like to see that as a start off here. So we can get above here, 614.81 or so, have nice room up towards that 619 area. So liking what I see there, tick going nicely positive. Advanced decline picking up a little bit here. So we are seeing some steam. Tesla won't give me the run I need here so far. Come on, Mr. Musk, take us to the promised land. NVIDIA, which I'm in also, that is looking pretty good here. So buying the dip on those when I thought they were a little sold is working out. That one might take profits today too. Not gonna lie, I might take some profit today, go into the weekend with a little bit of extra cash, be ready for next week. Again, nothing that I think there. I just, a lot of uncertainties over the weekends. My portfolio, I did buy the dips, as you guys know, on Nvidia and Broadcom and Oracle and a few others the other day. Thinking I'm going to take some profits there, and even some of the ones that I bought on the dip a few weeks ago, like FLY. So I am looking here to sort of put some cash ready. I want to be ready going into the last few days of the year to make sort of my rebalancing and be ready for the new year. If you don't know, hedge fund guys usually gone all next week, all the week after, and then they tend to come back around January 7th. So I want to be rebalanced and ready to go before then. So that's my goal personally. That's what I'm looking at here. So we'll see if things take off today. If we see some squeezes across some of these things, that's what I'm keeping an eye on. NVIDIA right now holding up the strongest. We do see a turnaround across the mag here. Most of them now moving to the downside. Microsoft's lost its early morning gain, now down 14 basis points. Same thing, Google, which had made a move into the green in the pre-market, now down about 12 basis points. Amazon down about 30 basis points, and Meta down 14 basis points. Thoughts are Meta could see a weak day today. Keep an eye on them as they get into, or they are, the TikTok coming to completion. The deal in the U.S. will hurt Meta's stock today, maybe. Looking across the different sectors of the S&P, it is a mixed bag. Technology, XLK, so far the big winner, up 1.22% with some of those names I've already mentioned. We then see energy up about 85 basis points, and a little big keeping an eye got here? Bitcoin 87,750. So holding up but not moving one way or the other too far here. We are seeing a little profit taken across the crypto names. So no squeeze yet. Galaxy Digital, actually. Galaxy Digital, nice move to the upside here, up 5%. That one I'm in, but I am still underwater there. So that one, I like the move, but definitely not a seller yet. Chips all moving to the upside nicely here. Micron, whoa, Micron squeezing the upside 5.68%. Nice move here. If it breaks 264.75, watch out here. That would be a 52-week high, and you could see a move all the way up towards 280 on that kind of move. So Micron definitely on watch here. Keep your eyes. Nice move on Micron there. NVIDIA picking back up here, up about 2.35, so it's getting the most love out of the mag. So chips definitely winning so far here today. Do see space still doing pretty well. ASTS still up 2.5%. It has come off the highs of the day. Nice move up by Boeing here, 212 now. Wow, but what a big recovery from Boeing here. 212, breaking to the upside here. Believe it or not, it is about to fill a gap that it started on October 29th when it got bad news. So it is about to fill that gap to the upside. Let's go Boeing. Love that. Love that. See a little bit of a pullback here on Coinbase. So no move to the upside yet by these. Same thing, DJT pulling back down. So some of the early morning risers not doing it. FedEx, they are buying the dip there. So it never got down towards that 5% downside I was looking for there. Nice little move. Again, all the chip sector, Intel moving to the upside here. Oracle now up 6% here, moving nicely to the upside. Come on, baby. Got to break through. It's right at key resistance here. It can break through. Watch for a run here to 200 on Oracle. So nice move here. AI and tech definitely working. I do see my main man, Mr. Flanagan, is in the house. Let's bring him on and find out what the heck Bank of Japan's doing. Uh-oh. You might need to go in and come back out. You're doing that microphone play around thing. We'll give him 1 second here. See, he'll be right back here. I am also sending out a signal from my room with Mr. Bauer here, getting into a little trade on SoFi. There he is. Now we're good here. Mr. Flanagan, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks, Howard. Hope you guys are having a good day. And which way in SoFi?
We're going north, hopefully. Doing a little call spread here. We've got we're gonna buy the January 16th 27, sell the January 16th 31 for 95 cents or less. There, Mr. Flanagan.
Wow, that's good. What a way to learn here. Well, let's do a quick recap. We got Bank of England dropped 0.25% this week to 3.75. I kind of was hoping on 0.5%, but it was a 5-4 decision, so a lot of people were objecting to a move altogether. ECB, they held unchanged at 2% and signaled that all policy is now, data dependent. But I watched the conference, and Christine Lagarde, the head of the European Central Bank, said that the economy is resilient. Now, I'm not sure if she's blowing smoke, but 0.3% plus 0.3 is like the heartbeat is barely there.
Yeah.
She's calling that
the defibrillator. Someone's holding them already, right?
And indicating that policy could go either way because of our models saying that economic growth is ahead. But she went further to identify that economic growth is projected plus 1.4 to plus 1.6% from now until 2028. I'm blowing my mind here. Like, who is allowing this to be acceptable? This is just throws the weight. Now, keep in mind, Europe as an economy has over 100 million more people, consumers, than the U.S. I'm just like, I don't understand how that we're and in the European system, the Eurozone, that the people are allowing this type of restrictiveness organized by the central bank to be upon them. I mean, come on, 1.6% topside growth for the next 2 years? It's crazy. All right, let's jump into the last one. Bank of Japan raised rates 0.25%. I'm going to say that the tectonic plates under the world's financial systems are the interest rates that the central banks control.
Right.
I'm quite concerned about the apparent, I read the words, get the tea leaves out, of the Bank of Japan shifting their narrative. They're talking about inflation as it's too high. For 25 years, Japan has been fighting deflation, running interest rates 0 to negative. And suddenly, they're talking about there is still some distance to go to get to the lower end of neutral.
Right.
0.25% raise to 0.75 is the highest. I want you to listen to this. Is the highest interest rate that Japan has had in 30 years. 30. And they're talking substantially, no, not substantially, my words. They're talking at the lower end of the neutral rate is, a ways away. So to me, this is quite a policy shift. Several members talked about the weakness of the yen importing inflation to Japan, with the dollar yen today at 157.13, sharply higher than last week's close of 155.80.
Right.
I'm like a little concerned here that the yen might be a great buy in around these zones here. Certainly, if we get to where I had talked about now for quite a while, anything above a 158 to 160 is going to bring in Bank of Japan intervention because if they're identifying a weak yen as supporting inflation and they don't want inflation now, watch this policy shift. Very subtle, but the dollar yen, you can see from that chart, the tops here, this is not a zone to be going long dollars in a weak yen. It also brings to mind perhaps the policy implications to the carry trade, where a weak yen has supported the carry trade.
Right.
Anyway, watch this one carefully.
Yeah, I still have that line that you had at 158,999 where they intervened, as we know, in January, pretty quickly, and you can see the result of that.
Today's high was 157.40. I'm in my mind, I'm hoping I can see a little bit higher so that I can sell dollars versus yen.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure that we may have just identified a top. Watch the 154.30 level. That would be about where our recent low was prior to the Bank of Japan meeting. It's very possible that the dollar yen goes to a 153, 158 trading zone and just stays there, which is classical dollar yen. I would opt that that's more likely to be the scenario, and then we wait for the next Bank of Japan meeting. Okay, I talked about intervention if we see higher. Watch that carefully. But speaking of intervention, my number 2 point I wanted to bring up to the viewers today. Bank or the Reserve Bank of India, RBI, they have intervened now twice this week after putting a high in around 91.08 was the we're now at 89.63. Now India has not intervened and has just watched the rupee weaken. Suddenly this week they decide to intervene, selling dollars, buying rupee, knocking it down substantially. What does it mean? Again, you've got to watch these central banks because they're the tectonic plates. It gives you the vision to make an investing decision for the future. And here's what I'm going to say. I think US and India this weekend, if not early next week, make an agreement and announce the first phase of a trade agreement.
Oh, wow.
Otherwise, why the heck would Bank of India suddenly step into the markets and sell the dollar versus the rupee? There has to be an ulterior motive to do that. Having stood by all year and watched it depreciate, tariffs against India are 50%. That includes a 25% oil with Russia increase. So it is very possible we're going to see what we've been long waiting for, a U.S.-India trade agreement very shortly.
Okay, that would be big news for sure.
Which brings me to my last and third point to end this week. Putin said that he has been asked to compromise on his potential end of the war in the Ukraine, because we know Russia has stood fast. And he said, I agreed. Watch out now for something to come out very quickly here. Why am I bringing these two big points up, India and Russia? The comments that they made. Because this is the wrong time of the year to suddenly get positive news in a market where liquidity is drawn way back.
Right.
You could get one of these, type of cataclysmic 5 to 10% moves in the marketplace because nobody's there with liquidity, but everybody has to react to the move. So anyway.
Especially like I said, next 2 weeks, as we know, there's no one really, no one's at the office, so to speak.
And you and Steve have been talking about a Santa Claus rally, which always seems to happen after Christmas.
Right.
Anyway, I just watched. I've been looking at these. I've been digging in. There's not a heck of a lot of news except the bullet comments that you can see. But a change perhaps on the Bank of Japan, India intervening in the market, and Putin suddenly throwing out, I've been asked to compromise and I've agreed. So
let's face it, they also haven't done very well in the winter, right? We all know that Russia, going back to World War I, has been very successful in summer and very, very poor in winter. And maybe they just realize it's not worth the, sometimes it's better to fold, right? A little bit.
We know Putin is a historical, he's very big on Mother Russia.
That's right.
So,
Absolutely.
I guess you could even go back to Napoleon back in those with the winter.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure.
So
Yeah,
that's my comment in a nutshell to you. Some positives here with the dollar index at 98.57. We're above last week's close of 98.39. The market went for the jugular vein and pushed it down to a low of 97.87. My line in the sand is 97.20. Definitely shook me out of my position initially, but as it came back, I went back into long dollars.
Right.
The dollar setup to me goes in line with these other events that I've pointed out, and I think you could see a subtle, move, just a day by day grinding out of a higher play. 99.30 is the resistance on the dollar index. I don't think we're going to break that just yet, but that's a level to keep in mind as an accelerating point on the upside.
Absolutely. Well, markets do seem like they want to move up today. We're still seeing the tick positive here. Q is still moving to the upside, 1.21%. S&P now up 0.5 percentage point. Dow is the laggard, most of that Nike. So markets are looking pretty strong here overall. Everybody be careful out there.
Yeah, and I
know
they
an interesting weekend. I am, like I said, I'm looking to take some profits on some of these. I bought the dip on a lot of things. I might want to have some cash in mind here. Take a look at the beginning of next week to redeploy it before the Santa Claus rally at maybe something else. We'll see what we get here. But everybody, for Steve and I, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.